friends, it's Ian from RTO here. Welcome to Battle Royale, round 1, tie 8. We are getting through these. And once again we've got terrible lighting here. It's one or another. So on goes the artificial lights. And what a good one we've got for you today. We have got Rainbow Rising from Stephen Norris and Close to the Edge by Yes from Pulsar. Two great albums in their genres. Rainbow Rising by Rainbow is probably one of the greatest rock albums of all time, and Close to the Edge is one of the greatest prog albums. Now when I ranked both these bands, these were #1 in both, so I'm glad I don't have to vote, because I can't vote in this and make a decision. So I am so glad. So out of the hat first for this tie was Stephen's Rising by Rainbow. We don't have to introduce Rainbow, we know all about this band. But there's one thing from, this is their second album. And the first album, of course, was basically Elf and Richie. Now Richie being Richie, had to get rid of some people, so he sacked everybody par Ronnie, and brought in some more musicians, and he brought in what became what I consider, and a lot of people consider, the greatest lineup of this band. It was Ronnie James Dio on lead vocals, the Richie Blackmore guitars, Tony Carey on the keyboards, Jimmy Bain on the bass, and Cozy Powell on the drums. Now, a lot of people don't know, also playing on here is the Munich Philharmonic Orchestra. And of course, the album was produced by someone called Martin Birch. So let's have a look at these tracks on this album. So side 1 opens up with Tarot Woman. How that builds up, and then you get that keyboard bit from Tony comes striking in, and then Ronnie just starts singing his lungs out. What a great opening track to any rock album. Great guitar solo on here from Richie. It's just one of the highlights of this album, Tarot Woman. Just a killer track all round, isn't it? Second track opens up with that great riff from Richie for Run with the Wolf. And the bass, the engine room in this lineup was Cozy Powell and Jimmy Bain. That was such a tight unit. Their playing on this is just terrific. They keep it solid, they keep it steady, because the drum signature is a little bit different, but they do a great job. And of course Ronnie on fire again. Then we get the quirky little Starstruck, bit rock and roll. Tony Carey and Richie Blackmore having a bit of fun here. I do like this track. It's a great song live. I think it is on stage, and it's just a thing. And I've heard Ronnie do this when on stage as well. It's just a great all-round rock track. Up next, Do You Close Your Eyes? The track that's always forgotten about on this album. But this is some of the best drumming by Cozy. He hits them drums so hard. It's a great guitar work here from Richie. I just love this track. And then we come to probably one of the greatest rock tracks ever written. It starts off with that great drumming from Cozy, then that great riff from Richie. We're talking Stargazer. It's just one of the highlights of this album. It is the best. I'll tell you now, this is the best song Rainbow ever did. The guitar solo in this is amazing. The lyrics are brilliant. It's just a phenomenal track that anyone that doesn't like Rainbow says that this is not the best track. You just can't beat it. But coming a close second is the last track on this album, the brilliant Light in the Black. This belongs to Tony Carey. The wizardry of the keyboards on this is brilliant. Them great driving riffs of Ritchie, the great bass of Jimmy Bain. This is just another track that really comes together. Side 2 of this album is just the perfect side. The two tracks are just phenomenal. You can play these tracks all the time. Okay, this is a great album. We all know this, love this album. Probably one of the most impressive rock albums ever. One of the best of the 70s. One of the best things that Ritchie Blackmore ever did. It's just the perfect album, isn't it? Of this, one of the perfect albums of this genre. And this is a 10 out of 10 album all the way. But Pulsar has came up with a great prog album. So it's the battle of prog and rock today, and we're going to look at, yes, now again, another band that we don't have to go into the history, formed in London by John Anderson and Chris Squire. We must remember people like Peter Banks and Tony Kaye who were in this band. But the album Pulsar chose is their 5th album from 1972, and it's The Close to the Edge, and it was the last album actually that Bill Bruford played on with Yes. So the lineup for this was Mr. John Anderson on lead vocals, Steve Howe on guitars, Christopher Squire on the bass, Richard Wakeman on keyboards, and Mr. Bill Bruford on drums and percussion. Well, what can you say about this opening track? Let's take the first bit. How bizarre is that? But how good is that? They're all playing different things, and then it all gets together and goes, there's water on it. And when it comes together, it is just superb, isn't it? That Rickenbauer bass from Chris Squire, it just oozes quality all the way through. Some of them drum time signatures from Bill are just amazing. Don't look at little bits of vocals from John. People say this defines progressive rock, this song. It's 18 minutes and 12 seconds long. It is one of the great prog tracks. The singing on it is great. I mean, you've got Chris Squire, who was a great singer. Steve Halder's backing vocals on this as well. Rick's keyboard work on this is absolutely dynamite. Is this the pinnacle of Yes tracks? One of them. You can't get enough of this track. I mean, I've seen people's reaction when they hear it for the first time in that opening thing. They go, oh, what the god dong is this? Do you know there's actually electric sitar on this track? Yeah. I don't know where, I've never found it. This just sort of... It just flows so beautifully. And the performance at the end, the Seasons of Man, it's just this crescendo of a great track. So that's side 1 taken care of, just one track. So we'll flip it over to side 2, and we get one of the most beautiful songs, You and I. What a lovely piece of music this is. It's got ambience, it's got texture, it's got atmosphere. Some of Steve's little guitar bits are wonderful on here. There's a great bass line from Chris all the way through this. But it's that bit when it comes to the sort of that vocal bit with that long, oozy, wonderful keyboard bit from Rick. This is a huge fan's favourite. It's still a big favourite in the set, and I think this has got some of the most beautiful keyboards that Rick ever did for textures and ambience. It's just a beautiful song, and I do like this. And the last track is a track that I used to open up their shows a lot. It's got that jazzy guitar at the beginning. It's probably some of the great Steve Howe guitar work on this. It's about Siberian Khatru. Never can pronounce it right. That ding 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 did it. Then that great bass from Chris. John Anderson's vocals on this are great. It's just an amazing track, and it's got a bit of a funk sound to it. The drumming from Bill throughout this album is superb. He leaves one of his finest performances with the band to his last album with the band. Absolutely superb album this is. It's just one of the great prog albums of all time. Again, I think I gave this a 10 out of 10 as well, because it's just, you know, these two albums, let's go back to both of them, they are some of the most pinnacle and iconic albums of the 70s in both their genres. I'm glad I don't have to choose this one, because this is a toughie, because they are, but they're so good. Both have got great playing on it all the way through. Both albums, okay, the Close to the Edge is a short album, but there are not, out of all these songs on both albums, there is not one bad song on these albums. Okay, it's up to you guys now to sort this one out. It'll be between the rock group and the prog camp, this one. Good luck to Stephen and Pulsar, two great supporters of the channel. This is going to be tough. I hope they come up tonight on live stream, or put something in the description to tell you why to vote for this album. So how do you vote for this album? This is the first one you've ever watched. Well, there's two places you can vote. One is in the community poll, which goes up on a Thursday afternoon at 2 p.m. and it closes at midnight on the Wednesday night, where Mastermind Dave will take it down, so you can't vote anymore. But the other place you can vote is if you come into the live stream tonight. Now, over the last few weeks, some albums have won in live stream but have not won overall, so both votes do count, and the people that vote in this competition is going up now, and that's fantastic to see. It's just great that you're all really getting involved with this. There will be a update this weekend on what's been happening. And then when we come to the end of the round one, there's going to be a week where we're not going to have a competition. But what will happen, Dave and myself will do a little video talking about our highlights and how we'd have probably voted on each round. So once the rounds are done, we will say how we'd have voted. So good luck to Stephen and Pulsar, or Gary, on this one. I'm sure a lot of people will vote for this because this is going to be an absolute belter. So next week, I've got it ready for us this week. Got another really good one. We have got Metallica, or Metallica, known as the Black Album, from Father Stack. We've got another one from Stephen, I do believe, and it's Rush's Moving Pictures. So another great tie for next week. Okay, that's all for this. I'll be back later for Pick and Mix. And this week it's mixing it up, which means we're going to look at a producer. And today's producer is not just a producer, he's a band manager. He's just a music guru, one of the great music people of this country. It's the late Jerry Mr. Bronze at Records. He gave so many bands some great breaks in them early days, the people that he signed to that label. Produced a lot of great songs and albums, some really funny ones as well. So that's going to be a good one. So join me for that later. Bye for now.